We were good. Thank you, Miss Moses, for doing that. My clock still shows 7 o'clock. It just changed, so we are good. Let me welcome everybody to the regular January meeting of the Sand Springs Board of Education. We appreciate y'all's attendance tonight. I'm thankful that everybody can stay separated. I tell you, I work at a hospital. The COVID cases are rising. So please, I just ask you to be safe, be careful. Wash your hands, stay away from people, do that. But we're going to try to do that tonight so we can all hear what we need to do and do what we can do as best we can. But we're going to have a board meeting tonight, and I appreciate everybody's attendance. But please just be safe. And I'll just start off the meeting too. I love Gary Watts. Gary Watts is a wonderful individual. I'm so excited he's here. It's with mixed feelings though, because we miss Greg. And I was all just to remember Greg and what he did for us, and a wonderful individual, did a wonderful job for our district. But we're so excited that we have a capable replacement who has stepped up, and we're going to hire Gary Watts tonight to take over that position. So I appreciate Gary Watts here, but again, we have a loss, and it is a challenge when we have a loss in the district, but I appreciate the district stepping up and doing what they do. So with that, I will call the meeting to order and ask for a roll call, please.
Dunn.
Here.
Noggle. Wagner. Here. Wagers. Here. Ellen.
Here. If you'll please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. The next item is the opportunity for the public to be heard. We ask that the public, if anybody wants to be heard, that they sign in advance of the meeting, and seeing that there are none. So we will move on to item number 4, which is a wonderful thing that we get to do. And I get the privilege of doing this first one. I want to ask Caden Gonzalez to come and join me at the front. Caden is one of these, we use the term superstar a lot, but I promise you, this guy is one of those. I'm going to ask Mr. Wright to come and join us too, please, because I recognize that Caden is a wonderful individual and has a tremendous talent, which he gets trained from this gentleman right here and a lot of guys, this guy right here. And I like watching what the band does, because nobody has more fun in the district than the band. Right. And that has something a lot to say with you and a lot to say with what you do as possible. Man, we appreciate you. But it's about Caden tonight. And I'm going to read what he wrote about you. Caden competed against musicians from all over the state to earn a spot on the Oklahoma All-State Band. As you know, Oklahoma is home to some of the very best band programs in the country. Sand Springs is one of those. So this is a very high honor indeed. And how many people are on this All-State Band?
We're prepared for your question. Let's say Caden's alone.
He's one of 100 maybe in the state, if even that.
Fewer than that, I think.
Fewer than that, but I mean, what an honor. And Caden, we were honored at the state, the summer conference. The school boards, we get together. That is a really exciting time. You can imagine all the school boards in the state get together. Pretty cool conference. Caden and Mr. Wright brought the band and they performed it, and he performed a solo for us, and it was wonderful. It was wonderful. So cool. What we got is an honor for you, the Sand Knight Spirit Award. This certificate is awarded to Caden Gonzalez for outstanding achievements and accomplishments in representing Sand Springs Public Schools and the community at large, and he thinks beyond. I promise you that. So, plus, they told me that you'd share this with us, gift card at Sonic and stuff like that. So, thank you, sir, for what you do. Everybody should get in the middle and get the pictures made.
Hey,
And then you get to tell us too a little bit about what you're going to do and what you're doing now. Maybe Kyle wants to tell more about it.
I'll do it while they're taking pictures. How about that? I would say
You can tell that.
one further thing about this young man is that he has aspirations to be a symphony trumpet player. Yeah, and he will make it, no doubt. But without boring you too much of the details, symphony players play a thing called the C trumpet, which is very different than the trumpet the others play, the B flat trumpet. So the music he auditioned on, which is insanely difficult, was written for B flat trumpet, but he did it on a C trumpet, meaning every note he saw, he had to play an entirely different note to make it sound the way it should. So imagine if you were auditioning for, because he's nuts. But imagine auditioning for a part to play and the script was in English, but when it was time to do your audition, you did it in German. That's what he did basically, and still did phenomenally. So there's no question he'll
Mr. Wright, talk about the piece that he did at OSSBA, because it was a solo in front of a huge audience.
yeah,
And I understand that was one of the toughest
It's
pieces that
pretty
he
tough.
chose it.
yeah. He played a piece called the Hindemith Trumpet Sonata in front of
Gross.
all the
I don't even
students.
know.
I'm glad it was him and not me. That's intimidating to get up at, with a junior and do that. Yeah, you'll be reading about him one day.
512 or something school districts, and so every board of education is invited in the state, so times 5-ish per, so quite a few people.
Yeah. Probably didn't break a sweat either.
I don't think.
I think Quite wrong with them, yeah.
Gentlemen, right here. Smiles. 1, 2, 3. And one more. 1, 2, 3. Thank you very much.
Tell us your aspirations. We heard just part of that, but I won't hear from you.
Well, like you said, I want to be a symphony orchestra musician. We were just talking about colleges, possible colleges to go to and everything. I know that I'm wanting to go out of state for college as far as that is concerned, but
That upsets Miss Turkey just a little bit.
Yeah.
Again, what you got to say, so, you know?
yeah, so I'm wanting to get my undergrad and then to go on to a doctorate and everything. I'm wanting to be either I'm wanting to be a professor and also be a symphony orchestra musician at the same time. So
Proud of you. Guys, good job.
Please.
Caitlin Knowlton. I see that. Congratulations. Caitlin is receiving the Sandike Pacesetter Award. She was nominated by Mr. J.J. Smith. And I'm going to read the definition of our Pacesetter Award. Nominees for the Sandike Pacesetter Award are those who have been recognized for achieving excellence through efforts in representing Sand Springs Public Schools and or for improvement and accomplishments in their drive for self-improvement. She has a heart for her community. Mr. Smith wrote that Caitlin, along with the CPFA Student Council, raised $2,857.83 during their annual United Way fundraiser. The funds went to help Sand Springs Community Services during this time of need. Caitlin does an excellent job of providing opportunities for our students to give back to the community. She uses her role as student council sponsor to show our students the importance, of being responsible students with a heart for their community. Caitlin is always willing to help students and staff in any way she can. She is not only a great asset to our school, but to our community as well. So, congratulations.
One, two, three. One more. 1, 2, 3.
Waiters, I would just add one thing, and I think it's commendable to say this because we've struggled with United Way giving during the COVID pandemic. People have been taxed. It's been a stressful time period. Caitlin and her student council at the Freshman Academy raised almost the same amount of money as the entire employee staff at Charles Page High School. So it's a big deal, and I appreciate that effort because students need to know that there is life beyond themselves, and helping people really is the element that makes them successful. So thank you. I appreciate it.
We're blessed to have Caitlin on our staff. Because that's what student council is all about, showing your community, but your school, the importance of giving back and being dedicated to something other than yourself.
Yes.
And so she does a great job with that. I mean, she's impressive, and if you've ever spent some time with Caitlin, you know that she has a heart for her community, just a heart for service, and that's what stands out to me, Kate, for sure.
Good job.
You're welcome.
Very good. Item number 6. I don't know what that is. I'm gonna have to turn that to Mr. Turkey.
I need to announce that this month is Board Recognition Month. That happens every January, and we're lucky to have a state organization called Oakland State School Boards Association that help us remember to honor these folks that serve tirelessly for very little money, right? They don't get paid anything actually, to serve our kids. And I will tell you, in the years that I've been superintendent, I'm working on your seats right now, it has been born with a little bit of stressful moments over the course of time, and the past 2 years have been no different. And so this team of people have stood alongside us as an organization, as a staff, to provide an education through a global pandemic, which has been nothing less than very trying through the last 2 years and continues. And so their support and their willingness to sit here every month, but not only that, really do the background to understand what we need for providing the best care for our students possible. They do that, and they do it with a lot of heart, with a lot of motivation, with a lot of courage. It's been a little bit, I think, courageous in the last year and a half or two. Just navigating the balance in the environment. So these guys are fabulous, and I am lucky. We are lucky to have them behind us, supporting us, cheering us on, and bringing what we do to fruition. So I am honored to recognize 4 that are here tonight. One that couldn't be here. He is not feeling real great tonight, so he's not here. But I'm just going to let you come up if you don't mind, stand beside me and let me honor you. First, Miss Jackie Wagner. I was hoping that the first one that I won't open the rest of them. It just says, in appreciation, Jackie Wagner, for your dedication to Sand Springs Public Schools students and public education in Oklahoma. So, next is our past president, Ms. Whitney Wagers. Thank you for your service. Vice President, sitting behind me is Mr. Rusty Gunn. And then last but definitely not least, our president, Mr. Mike Mullen. I would encourage everyone, if you get a chance, to send a little thank you note. Handwritten notes are amazing, but these people do beautiful work and support in the hugest way. So, I mean, seriously, we're blessed. So thank you for your service.
We're a wonderful team.
Yes, we do.
Wonderful team.
All right, ready? 1, 2, 3. And one more. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Durkee. That was not expected, but very much appreciated.
Yeah. Takes a ton of people that believe in our purpose and our mission. I think
And we said we
work under a
team on this side, but a much better team on your side. So we appreciate that. We'll move on to item number 7, but I will allow, if you desire, if you came for just the preliminary stuff, then you're welcome to leave. We would love to, I know Case will go home and do homework. There's no question about that. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very nice, Katie. We will move on to item number 7. Ms. Durkee, could you lead us through the student empowerment and staff empowerment?
Well, we have some guests here tonight from Daybreak. You know, they come occasionally. They definitely give us statistical reports once a semester of cases that they see. And Daybreak, as you know, is our counseling service provider. We have a standing MOU with them. They serve our kids that are in need of mental health services. So we have Becca and Christine with us tonight. So Becca, I don't know if she's got some statistics that were attached in your board agenda.
And I have the full copy.
I do.
Okay.
Yep.
Then I'm not gonna go read through the entire thing, just to save you all some time, but, had a couple of things to share and then just kind of going over the totals. Obviously, as everybody knows, you know, the amount of need for mental health, especially in kids, has increased significantly. So we're really happy that this year has gone a lot better for us, being able to bring in new therapists, to have more people to see these kids. Because last year, I think a lot of you would know, was a real struggle for us to hire people, whether it was people not wanting to get into school-based therapy just because of, you know, the pandemic or, you know, what have you. But we've gotten some great new therapists. before I kind of go over the totals on the stats, I was gonna let you guys know, we have a therapist, his name's Clint Treese. He's worked at Garfield for over 12 years now. He's gonna become kind of our clinical liaison for Sand Springs. So he's gonna be able to get a lot more involved, maybe kind of pop into board meetings a little more, have meetings with principals, be available for just kind of anything, as somebody who's worked for us for a really long time, really cares about Sand Springs, really cares about the school that he's in, as well as the other schools. So starting that like on February 1st, I believe. So we're just happy this team has gotten a lot better. You know, we haven't had any turnover. We haven't had anyone leave. We've got some amazing clinicians that are helping these kids. So we're pretty excited about that. But throughout the whole fall semester, we had about 117 new clients through the schools, about 317 hours of pro bono services. And that stuff that's documented is probably mostly just the actual client sessions, not stuff. We have a lot of therapists that get very involved within their school as far as doing even after school activities, stuff like that. So some of that stuff tends to go undocumented. So there's definitely more on top of that. But we got around 157 active clients within the district and almost 5,000 service hours provided just from August to the end of the semester. So quite a bit happening. And I'm just hoping that we're going to continue to be able to bring some other great therapists in and serve even more of the kids. So just being able to say anything.
I think pro bono hours are worth a little bit of a mention because those are hours that these guys are not getting paid for.
Right. Yes.
And addressing students that might not otherwise have mental health services. And so thank you for that. I know that when I talked to David, we had a Zoom meeting last week and he would caution that those numbers are probably lower because of documentation. It doesn't happen some of those times, but again, having an agency that's been a close partner for several years that address those needs globally, because we have a therapist at every site.
Yes.
At this point, including our early childhood education center. So it's been a great partnership throughout the years. If you have any questions, I'm sure Becca would be more than happy to answer anything you might have.
Yeah, we're just excited.
One,
Sorry. Go ahead.
I just one on the form, just because I'm not familiar with the terminology. You have one that says admitted referrals and then not admitted referrals.
Right,
I don't
yes.
know.
So obviously we get a lot of referrals at the beginning of the school year. So the admitted ones are just ones that actually became clients that are actually being seen. The not admitted are just the ones that didn't follow. Either the parents declined services or they just didn't follow through, didn't end up becoming a client. So we like to document those as well, just so that they know, you know, we have this. There's multiple reasons. Maybe they had an insurance we didn't take and chose to go elsewhere to use their insurance. We try to utilize pro bono work sometimes in those circumstances. When people have an insurance that we don't take, sometimes therapists will take them on pro bono just so the kid gets services, but they can only take so many pro bono clients. So sometimes it'll be too full and they'll have, you know, they might seek services elsewhere that takes that. So there could be a myriad of reasons for why they didn't, you know.
I was reading admitted is you're admitting them into some institution and I thought, I hope no, but.
To our
But sure,
services.
so-
Yeah. No, we're not sending them.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so moving on, if you're ready, Enrollment Center is open. That's probably the biggest news of the evening. We moved in over Christmas break with our enrollment folks. Child Nutrition had really intended to wait through the month of January and then took the lead and also moved in. So you might go and see a few boxes still laying around because they're still nesting there, but truly we're open for business. So I believe at 8 o'clock Monday morning, I called Carrie Slager and talking about the move in. She said, no, I think we need to go ahead and put it out on Facebook. We will have someone there at 8 o'clock in the morning on Monday. And sure enough, I walked in at 8 o'clock and there was a parent getting help at the desk. So by Tuesday around noon, I think there were 10 folks that had come in asking for transfers into the district. So it got hopping pretty quick. So we are up and rolling. Again, still a little bit of nesting going on, but it is up and very user friendly. So one announcement that's not in your notes, I solidified ribbon cutting. So February 3rd, I'll be sending that out later, but mark your calendar. We're going to do that in the afternoon. I think we set the time at 4 o'clock. So opening up to the public so they can come see, check out the center and see what's going on there. So super excited about that. Next bit of information, I'll let Mr. Beard expand on this one. Last Wednesday, he and Mr. Bibbin and Mr. Trout took a trip to Enid. We were informed that Enid had kind of a state-of-the-art digital media program in light of the addition of our Jumbotron that hopefully we get sooner than later. We're getting that out too, and that's going to be a Watch report. Just wanted to see what other districts were doing. Enid was the premier place. Sean came back with a camera full of pictures and very excited about the kind of things they have going on, and really sparked some excitement in me to get a new program going, not just because the Jumbotron is pretty cool to look at, but really because of the opportunity it provides for kids and building curriculum and capacity for doing that kind of work outside of high school. And Sean, you've got more to say about.
Yeah, the whole discussion was obviously sparked by the interest in the new scoreboard and Jumbotron, and the curriculum that we'll be getting along with that. And that coincided about the same time that we had a STEM consortium, a state STEM consortium visit here. We had hosted the state STEM consortium, and the STEM coordinator from Jinx, or I'm sorry, not Jinx, from Enid, was here that day and was just, asking a lot of questions about our STEM programs. And just in casual conversation, it came up that we were getting a new scoreboard, and I asked what they do for their video production class and how they do different things like streaming board meetings. And so from that, it just kind of moved into, would you like to come visit and see, how we've been doing things? And their whole process stems back to about 8 years ago. Their IT department had been working with the local cable channel to set up an educational channel in district. And so from that's what sparked their video production program with students. Whereas ours was more student focused rather than IT focused. So just sometimes it kind of helps to see how the other guy's doing things so that you can compare notes. And that's kind of what we did that day. And so it gave us some really strong ideas about how we can increase what we're doing with Sandikes TV, change what we're doing a little bit with streaming board meetings, taping, faculty trainings, different things like that. So give us some wonderful insights and some new ideas what we can do.
They actually haven't, I go here, I'm gonna get really jealous because that motivates me to create something that's spectacular and is better than you. I'm joking, Carol Floyd, so forgive me for watching. He's not, by the way. But they actually have an EPS station, like literally a channel, and they're working to incorporate their channel into Apple TV and YouTube. It's probably a little bit far reaching right now for them, but the thought of having a SSPS channel that's a 24/7, I mean, they're not running programming, but they do have slideshows and probably, I'm guessing, some informational type things.
Pre-taped content.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, it opens up a whole new vision of what we can do with a program like that. So, yeah, there you go. So our team got pretty excited and brought home a show and tell. So we're motivated to make sure that we do that right. To move on, we are going to start Esports this fall, you guys. We have investigated grant opportunities. Most of them, in fact, all of them that we've searched out want a matching, or doing a matching grant, meaning that we have to put some skin in the game. I think we're going to launch by buying the first initial 6 machines that we can have a team. The grants that we're finding, you have to have a roster, have had tryouts, have a person that's the coach of the team. So we're not there to access those, but once we begin to launch, then we'll start doing that to help get funding for the rest of it. We have kids that are asking. Sean continues to get emails from our 9th through 11th graders saying, hey, when are we going to do it? When's tryouts? When you send out a survey and they think it's happening tomorrow. So we're going to work really hard to make that happen. Our room, we think we have the perfect space in the new upgrade for the virtual academy. That's a dark room without windows. And apparently that's really kind of the criteria that you want in that kind of environment. But we have a room that's designated as well. So the remodel. So Tina or Sean, if you want to add anything to that, I'm pretty excited about that one too.
So I will say, and I know Tina will probably want to add to this, when we originally sent out a survey to ask kids if they were interested, we knew that we would get an immediate response. And we had, we only pulled a select group because we know that this is not something that we would be able to start right away. So therefore, seniors wouldn't be able to take part in it next year, obviously, because they would have already graduated at that point. But we polled 9th, 10th, and 11th grade students, and 145 students responded, and so about 62% of those said yes, they would be interested. So that put us a little over like about 80 some odd kids. And that was just so that we could get, like, okay, we can do this. Of course, the prospect of holding tryouts for 80, 85 kids would be very interesting. But as late as right before winter break, I had kids emailing me saying, so is this happening? Please say it's still happening. I haven't heard from you. It's like they had established a personal connection with me by email because I sent out a survey, but they're already asking and they are ready and they're pumped. And so we've been looking at a lot of different things, grants available. We've looked at partnerships. I know Tina's been doing research into quotes for the past 3 years. I had been doing it for a year before that. And it's definitely a huge movement and something that we have a huge interest in. And I think that it's something that feel like we're a little bit behind the game on, but no pun intended, but we'll get there.
I think it's gonna fill a niche of students that wouldn't be participation. Any other things.
Yeah.
So.
And the number of career paths that, if you just sit down and look at it, there's a whole cluster of career paths that you can branch off of esports that you might have never thought of, but everything from graphic design to marketing. So there are a lot of paths that you can talk to students about, just, not just playing the game itself.
Just a thought on that. I mean, this sounds really cool. I'm excited that we can do this. Technology is moving so fast in that, though. We buy unit today. Is it good next year, or we have to buy another new unit next year and then another one the next year, and so on and so forth?
So I've been specifically speccing out quotes for machines that have expandability. So we don't have to replace the whole tower. We can replace parts and upgrade them as it becomes necessary. The other piece is that the 3 leagues that are most active in Oklahoma all commit to competition games for periods of 3 years. So whatever they've picked as their game roster, that will be the roster for 3 years, specifically so that schools aren't constantly buying new licensing and things of that nature. And because there's the one that's run through OSSAA, there's one that Union runs, and it was the first one on the ground. So we have several options as well, depending on what games we want to compete in. Obviously considering stakeholder sensibilities, because there are a couple of those games I'm not sure we want to put our foot in right at the beginning because they're fantasy but violent, and I'm not sure we want to go there quite yet. But I'm trying to future proof it as much as I can, or at least leaving us the option to upgrade individual parts as opposed to the whole $1,500 tower every time we have to upgrade.
That's a question she obviously got from me not too long ago. I'm like, so how often are we gonna have to replace these? Little prepared for that question this year. 6 months. Yeah.
So is that about 1,500 about average for a tower?
Yes, so that's definitely a mid-range tower that we're looking at through Bytespeed's program, which is a tech provider company. I looked at Alienware and it is really pretty and really expensive. And I'm not sure we need to start there, especially with our very first team. Now, as it gains traction and the program grows, we can definitely look at some of those more higher tiered machines. But to start with, at least this will operate all the games that they could possibly play, with the exception of Super Smash Brothers, which is Nintendo Switch specific. But it will run all the other games that are on the league and the ones that are slotted for the next 2 license cycles. So the leagues also plan out and publish what their license cycle will be 2 years in advance. So we know what the games are going to be for the next 6 years. Because actually new renewal comes up this summer. And like I said, I'm trying to be as responsible with that money as I possibly can.
I, in my mind, had set aside about 5,000 per station because the tower is only a portion of it. I learned through a little bit of query with how much is this going to cost us? And so we landed there as a kind of a estimate of how much that would be. So you're looking at a $30,000 investment in a team that could consist of not just one group of 6, but it's more expansive than that. They choose games. There's a lot of details that we don't really have time to get into tonight, but
Call me any day. I can nerd out with you for hours.
it's a respectful endeavor and someplace we need to be for sure. So any questions about that?
I was thinking 80 kids have responded, but only 6 on the team.
Well, so
You can have multiple teams, obviously, so, but, it's definitely, we're gonna have to set up a bracket, and, have them try out, and then from that, like, to give you an example, there's some schools that have up to 6 teams that rotate through. And they do, just like they would with team sports, they do have teams watch and observe the other teams as they're practicing so that they can pick up techniques, leadership skills, all sorts of different things, so.
well, and kids play different games. So
That's
you
true.
might have a team, this 6
Rocket League.
would play one game. Yeah, I don't
She
really
plays that
personally
one,
know
too.
about that, but there would be more than just 6 kids.
Exciting, huh?
Yeah, I think it's very exciting. To me, it kind of goes hand in hand with just digital media and all of that whole expansive area that includes, anyway, so we're excited about that as well. I'm going to shift to the school calendar. I want to make sure I'm really clear on this one. We have in your packet a paper copy of what we're putting out this week is the now the first draft for the people to see. Here is what has happened to us. And I have explained this before. I think I mentioned it publicly in the last board meeting. In 2019, the USDA put out rules for free and reduced lunch forms and declared thou shalt have a new form every year, which continues to be true. At the time, our guidance from the State Department of Ed indicated that because everyone needed a new form, our free and reduced counts were going to be based on the number of new forms we collected. So that on top of the fact that the pandemic and free lunches or free meals for all kids have produced kind of this, not apathy, it's just parents aren't feeling very, like they need to fill out a free and reduced form. And so we're struggling getting those back. We learned from the SDE this year that they're now throwing out some guidance that are taking us back to that 30-day rollover rule. So for our highest October count, meaning that kids that qualify free and reduced this year could roll over into next year up through the October 1 count, that October first instructional day in October, if we don't start school too early. And so therefore we're back to the old 30-day rule that we used to imply. We would do this every year prior to 2019, in that we can't start school as early as we have the last couple of years. So what you're presented with tonight is back to where we have been historically, with not a bunch of leeway in the calendar. We had this realization about a month ago, whereas our free and reduced count yielded numbers percentage less than 35% at Ames Valley, and Pratt was really close, meaning those two sides wouldn't necessarily qualify with a number of the percentage of low income folks for Title I funding, and we can't let that happen. As you know, our district sees about $750,000, $750,000 each year in Title I funding, and the biggest majority of that money goes into people. So we're talking about Title I resource teachers, paraprofessionals that reinforce skills for reading and math, and it's just not something we can use. The other thing that our low income count does is drives our percentage for E-rate funding and the amount of percentage we get reimbursed for all things that Tina does with technology. So it is a big enough chunk of change that we won't yield in terms of our recommendation about starting school no earlier than the 30th day of school, which puts the start date at August 22nd at the earliest. We can start a little bit later, but not earlier than. So looks like Thanksgiving week will be a 3-day week, much like it has been forever. We've never really had 4 weeks of Thanksgiving. And then we still are going to be able to obviously be out of school before Memorial Day. There's a little bit of wiggle room regarding, teachers really struggle with starting the kids the full week, the first week of school. So there's a little bit of wiggle room in pushing our day out to the 26th. I believe we have enough snow days built into our calendar that we haven't been impacted by needing to make up those days at the end of the year. So I just wanted you guys to get a chance to see this. Typically, we did a little bit early last year, but typically first read of the calendar goes on the board, the February board agenda for full approval in March. So this gives you a little bit of perspective. There was one mistake in the center box with the May 25th day. We had erroneously put May 31st, but truly the last day for educators would be the 25th based on this calendar. So giving you a chance to take a peek at it, look it over. If you see any problems, something that we've erred on, please read it over. I know Mr. Mullins are pretty keen at that, making sure we have the right number of days in our calendar. But I wanted to bring this up publicly so that you could see it. We'll be pushing it out with our leadership team tomorrow. Actually, they got a copy of it today. They'll be discussing it with their staff. And I've talked to Ms. Jackson, SCCA president, about the need to go back to how we have been historically prior to 2019. So I would field any questions that you guys might have about the calendar.
You know what Tulsa Tech is doing, because we have a lot of connections with Tulsa Tech, a lot of students utilize their services.
So what has happened is, I think Norman was the only district that I'm aware of in the state that didn't start varying their calendar based on the new rules from USDA in 2019. And this is going to affect every district in the state. And so what you're going to see is a move back to exactly what we're doing, moving back to the 30-day rule, and we'll align with Tulsa Tech as well.
TCOS has seen, you've heard about this.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Big.
We will be the only school district in Tulsa County starting the 22nd.
No, not hardly.
The only district that even has a calendar out right now is Owasso. Nobody else has finalized anything.
Well, and true.
And and we looked at like 4 of them. I've created 4 and I was, there's not a lot of room. And then you have those employees that are going to start for the after school. And so we're trying to give enough time for teachers to have a few days off before they start 21st century.
For the summer
Before they, some of the other programs. And then in turn in July, that summer school program that they'd have a few days before they start back, but it's just
It's going to be tight both ways. We had talked about, I know Rusty had mentioned, is it worth starting that early to get that Thanksgiving week off? And we were worried about the tightness of those gaps between end of year and June summer school and July summer school and August. Well, now we don't really have choices. So it's going to be tight with hiring employees for the June piece. But I don't see another way. It wouldn't be smart staffing wise, money wise, and schools and teacher support wise for kids to do it any differently. So any other questions? That's a great question, Mike.
We have a question for Ms. Turkey on anything related to student empowerment.
Yes, that's good for that one.
We move on to resource info.
I'm going to start this piece out by saying we really lost a pretty special person in our CFO with Mr. Morris. I had the honor of speaking at his funeral, one of the hardest things I've ever done. He left us in good shape, giving us the kind of data that we needed to make be good fiscal decisions. I quipped at his funeral about him loving his spreadsheets, and that is the truth. He could make a spreadsheet for anything. And I know Mr. Watson and I have talked about it. He said, I can't read his spreadsheets. Numbers are just popping in from everywhere, because he had a formula in every square. He was brilliant. And I'll just say that. So he will be missed for a long time. Our office was pretty somber coming in last week, but our employees know that kids are at school, and we have a mission that's crucial to the betterment of society as a whole. And so we're going to educate our babies. Tina, can I announce tonight? Are you cool with that?
That's fine.
So interestingly, on that note, we had leadership Zoom today because of COVID cases, and I'll get to that when we get to the health part. But Tina finally made the announcement to our leadership team that she's expecting. And she goes, we've had a really tough meeting today. It's been kind of heavy, speaking of COVID. However, I just thought I'd lighten it up a little bit, let you know that I'm expecting, and it's gonna be the worst time ever. It's gonna be in August. So we got to have a raise and stuff.
Congratulations.
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Pertinent to the conversation because it was just a reminder that life has to continue. And so, we'll remember Greg forever because he was a very intimate part of our team at the office, and he will be missed. But again, I'm going to have to say, when I called cabinet together after that very hard call that I received Sunday, first Sunday of break, cabinet came over to my house, and here he was, of course, again, another critical member of our team and very dear to my heart. And he immediately said, do you need me to step up? Because I will. And I was like, thank you. Yes, we do. And so that's how we operate. I mean, in Sandikeville, we do what we need to do to make it work for our people and kids. So welcome back, Gary White. He never really left us, by the way, this. Like, he's been part of our team forever, but he's just really one of the wisest people I know. That is true. He blushes every time I say that, but it is true. So he's back in the saddle. He started the Monday after we got out from Christmas break, and he dug in to, get back in the game and understand where we were, and did a lot of recon and investigation, looking and clawing around to find his way. And now we have missed a beat. I mean, we really have not missed a beat. So very thankful for that. So I'm sorry for that precursor to the finance part. Rusty, I'm not looking at you because I've done it too much. I don't want to do it right now. So it's been a tremendous couple of weeks. However, this would have been the month that Greg would have presented the second revised budget. We're not doing that tonight because we just got our mid-year allocation this week. And so Mr. Watson, in his infinite wisdom, has decided to wait to produce that until we can make sure that's accounted for. And Gary, I don't want to speak for you. So if you have anything to add to your work.
Did you share with them the amount of the increase?
I did not.
Oh, okay. Yeah, just know that the midterm adjustment is an increase of 714,000, which probably Greg was predicting that because it's pretty close to what the stipends cost.
Right.
Every amount that I was telling you that I had to fix. So we won't have to fix it.
Right.
Again.
I think his plan might have been to fix it. Who knows at this point? But with, again, a lot of wisdom, it is about the equivalent of what we paid for stipends. And we knew we were probably going to have to take a dip in our fund balance again in order to do that. We'll see. A lot of spending occurs in the second semester too. So we'll see how that works. But gosh, we're blessed, and I'll just leave it at that.
Thank you, Mr. Watts.
I would go on to say we have the infusion of federal dollars. You guys know this. Have been able to make very needed improvements for our district that we wouldn't have otherwise been able to do. We have spent a significant amount of money in HVAC. We are getting ready to install an energy management system. We have restructured our fiscal enrollment process and child nutrition, providing a space for our virtual academy. We have made use of and valued and improved learning loss for children. We're spending 20% of it just investing in teachers that stay after school every day and invest time in the summer to make sure our kids pick up maybe what was disrupted with COVID. And so feel very fortunate that all of that is happening. I would be remiss if I didn't mention the work of Jeannie Kavach. She's going to get into her report for the board and the projects she's working on. You'll see her renewal for her contract in the consent agenda because she has taken on way more than what we asked her to do in a regular contract that says she's the bond manager. And she does it because she's a Sandite. She does it because she loves us, and she does it at a very reasonable cost because she's been around for a long time. So
Pretty good at it.
very good at it too. And I threw Jumbotron at her, so I think we have that fit out as well. I mean, I just can't, it's terrible. And she's sticking with me and she's still talking to me, which is good. But she's really quick to jump in and she sees a need and she feels it's a servant's heart that, we love about our team. So
Another thing that we have on the books that I neglected to mention to you is the chiller at Angus is going to have to be replaced. So I have that with AEG engineers to get that a bid spec for us to see if we can capture some CARES Act money again.
Highly tower.
yes, that's
Gail Buena,
Sorry,
Gail Buena is the engineer.
I'm
Yeah.
with you, but it's a cooling tower, not a chiller.
It's a cooling tower, yes. Right.
we inserted a board report she did for you later than what we were able to put it in the board file. And so I don't know, Jeannie, if you wanted to just talk through some of this, just giving you an idea of what's going on in her world and the extra quote unquote that we're asking her to do as we go into that spending of the stimulus money that's really helping us with improvements. So
As you know, we completed the first floor of the MA wing and staff's moved into that. We still are missing the heater in the hall, and we have some hiccups with a few of the door locks that are temporary until we get handles in. And other than that, I think everything's working pretty well. We have some more furniture coming. Second floor is well underway. The painters have started mudding and taping and plastering the walls. We have been able to locate 4 of the 9 units we need. Dick keeps looking. He went to Kansas, Arkansas, and Texas to find the 4 that we needed. So it could be that we may not be able to move in over spring break the way we had hoped, but we will continue to work forward and keep looking. The East Wing, I am just 99% complete with those plans, ready to go to the city for a permit and then release that in February for our March board approval.
when she's saying East Wing, I want to make sure we're clear, and that's a 3-story, 3-floor building that sits on the corner.
Right, that's all 3 floors. The exterior improvements will go along with the East Wing. We have an exterior sign under construction and contract right now. The Jumbotron is moving along. We're bidding out the plans for the footing and the steel on that. I met the electrician today. We do not have enough power, so we're looking at trying to have PSO set another pole for us close to a transformer so we can pull off of that, which will be connected to the Jumbotron also. We had trouble getting some laminate at one time, but it's here. So we're completing some of the millwork we had done. And then I told you about the update on the second floor for HVAC. And then the cooler at Angus, and is there anything else?
That's it.
I think that's it.
She has handled all of those asks with the professionalism that she always exhibits. So I'm super proud. Thank you, Jeannie. So any questions for her? That was a good, thoughtful idea about using a transformer on this side of the stadium, by the way, closest to the road, which makes the electric run to provide electricity. The Jumbotron much less expensive. So that
And we will be using more power. So if PSO charges us for that additional pole, they'll give us a discount on it because of the extra power. It could be even a free change to us. They're usually pretty good to us. And this is very helpful. Thank you. You're welcome. I used to do that all the time. I just got out of the habit, and Sherry said something. I said, "Oh, I just want to give you a report."
I think that concludes number 8. What's your question?
Yes, I'm sorry, I'm thinking.
No, you're good.
Tricky little. We can move on to number 9.
Number 9, I don't want to just reiterate, but really the Enrollment Center is the biggest news for our families and the effort to streamline enrollment, and it's been amazing. And Carrie's smiling, so I love that. Our health guidance, our spending committee is set to meet this week on Thursday. It's composed of parents, community members, our admin, teachers, nursing staff. We always review our current plans. These are posted on the website, and of course, this is a requirement under federal law. I will say we got into a place today. We met with our nurses last week as a small group of leaders and our nursing staff to review our health guidance because CDC did come out with updated guidance over winter break. As you have been following the storytelling over the last few days, we have been struggling with a COVID peak again. If you'll remember, we peaked in September in the fall. Kept classes open, I think, with the exception of Ames Valley at one small pocket of time in one singular classroom or two, maybe. But our cases at that point were 78. I just looked right before board meeting started, and we were at 82 this morning. And by the time the board meeting started, we had jumped to 128. So that's an increase of 46 cases that we identified in one day. And we know there's pending tests that people don't have back right now. We were struggling, honestly, at Angus and Northwoods and Clyde Boyd Middle School. And we made a decision today to, we couldn't staff Boyd, but we can, with the help of Boyd staff, keep Northwoods and Angus open. I think Angus is going to be able to do that independently, although they're struggling. They didn't have any substitutes, but Northwoods will be getting some aid tomorrow by some of our Boyd people. So it's a real struggle. If you don't have the staff to hold the building open, you can't keep kids safe, much less teach them on site. So we're going to shift to distance learning, and I'm praying, thank you. We gave our parents enough notice. That was a decision we made around 2 o'clock this afternoon. I really pushed it to the end because our intent is to keep doors open everywhere. Of course, in true nature of Sherry Pearson, we're providing curbside meals for anyone who shows up to get a meal at Clyde Boyd Middle School. So that will be happening, and if needed, and 6th grade, yes, Clyde Boyd Middle School. That's the site code the State Department uses. So I have a tendency to look at it, but yes, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. And Tina, of course, helped us to negotiate Wi-Fi for our buses. So if we get into a place where we've got some neighborhoods that need access, we certainly can park those buses in those spaces so kids can access the Wi-Fi. Our intention is to be back at school Monday, next week from today, Tuesday, not Monday, Tuesday. We're out of school Monday. It's Martin Luther King Day. But that's the goal. So high school struggling. Stan sent out an email to his staff at the end of the day. They had 300 plus students absent at Charles Page. So it's tricky. We're finding that our staff, I don't know of one case that has been severe in terms of the kind of sickness, but it certainly spreads pretty fast. So we hope that continues to be the case across the board. So, and I know we're not the only agency and organization struggling with it. I know our neighbors are having the same problems as we are. Questions on communication, community? I kind of reached into health and safety a little bit too.
The Clyde Boyd students all know that tomorrow they're virtual.
Yes. Yes.
Hopefully all fit the Chromebook though.
Well,
It's
I've been monitoring our social media pages, and somebody said they're wanting us to really know about this because we got a text message and a phone call, and it's on both sides. And so I feel like we've got the communication scheme down to a fine art, because thank you, Lisa. So that's been really helpful. Good. Questions? I did bridge into health and safety.
To have a class closed at Angus.
Our special ed severe profound, we had both teachers and one of our paras out. These are kids that have unique needs that we have trained people doing. So just have to be very careful with your staff that's very specialized to take care of kids that need maybe a little bit more love and care from a physical standpoint potentially. So very cautious about that. So yes, those 2 classrooms, those folks were called personally Sunday night to let them know. So they were prepared for that as well.
The anticipation at Boyd is 1 day or 3 days,
Here, we called it for the week.
week, the rest of it.
Yes, we changed our protocol from 10-day isolation period with positive case to 5, hoping to get some of our staff back. But even at that, I was still getting text messages from Miss Ogle and Miss Noel about she's also positive. He's also positive. And so we knew the spread was happening pretty quickly. Teachers were symptomatic. So, I mean, we were guessing that that was probably the case. And the other struggle was getting to a facility to get test results back because they are full and I know Sean Beard had that problem as well with family members. So it's been a trip. We're going to make it. But again, just that peak's happening and I'm really praying we are hitting the peak and we're going to be on the other side of it pretty soon. So.
Any other questions from Ms. Turkey and those, Matt? You kind of touched on the health
I did.
safety, so.
Yeah, you're welcome. I come to find this too. So you're,
Questions from Ms. Turkey, go ahead.
yeah, if you're ready to move to consent agenda.
Agenda, I'm good with that, yes, ma'am.
Okay, consent agenda. I would bring to your attention item number 24. This was a recommendation by Ms. Laker to be paid out of a special education project, which is also stimulus, but you may or may not remember, we have begun billing Medicaid and our speech pathologist in an attempt to get that work done. We're contracting with an agency to help us with evaluations that are required for that billing. If there's something extra that you would add.
Well, there are just, there are some extra components of evaluation that Medicaid is asking above and beyond what they would normally do to evaluate and, qualify a student for speech services. So this is just a way for us to use some of the ARP money that was designated just for special ed to get them some help on getting evaluations up to the level that Medicaid requires so that they can then bill on those students. So this particular person will just be going in to 3 of our elementary sites, updating those evaluations. The current speech paths who are our district employees will continue to be the service providers that do all the therapy with the students. So this will really just be to help get them caught up with the paperwork side of things.
The other one that I would bring to your attention is just that review. And it's not new, but Jeannie Foch's contract. She's staying with us to finish out the central admin services project. We suspect, hopefully, that project might be complete by the end of 2023. December, when I say 2023, I don't mean fiscal year, I mean calendar year. I will say, add to this conversation in that I shared that rendering that I shared with you about the new entry on the south side of the 3-story building with the city. They're getting ready to, they're actually in the middle of planning a bond project for the city themselves. And we might be able to get the committee to agree to help us out with that project because it does complement the triangle. There's no promises, but certainly something we brought up. I know Mr. Graham sits on that committee as well. And when you think about adding green space that complements the triangle for the purpose of activities that the chamber or the city might host in that downtown Main Street area, like the Oval Affair, it really would add to value, I think, of what our city has as a downtown. So just kind of to be determined, you know, to be continued, more information later. But those are the 2 that I'd bring to your attention tonight.
Just have to make sure we're on the item 27, the contract with G.D. Botchin, and I say it's for 3 years. I wish it was for 10, but can we really do a 3-year contract? That's just a question that
Out of a bond, yes. And the truth is we approve this every year, Mr. Mullins. So the reason, go ahead.
Well, the way I wrote the contract, the 3-year commitment is by her, not us.
Okay.
So that's why we see it each year, but she has committed to the.
They had a dollar amount for a certain number of years that just is something I do for
We're
you.
not committed, so we just encumber a year at a time.
I got you. Okay, cool. I'm just excited because I didn't expect 3 years, so I appreciate
Well, and-
that. G.D. so much. That's a big deal.
3-year bond project manager was kind of a rhythm that Mr. Snow had gotten into with the bond election every year. If you'll remember how we structured the last bond, we have that we had that 9-year period. We've sold 3 years of bonds based on the 19 election. But we've extended that, so we're not as quote unquote committed to have an election every 3 years in that cycle. That's the reason.
Any other questions, any consent agenda items from the board? Bring more information, Ms. Turkey or your team.
I don't think so unless you guys have.
Entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda items as listed.
I'll make the motion.
Need a motion
I'll second.
and a second by Ms. Wagers.
I'll second.
Call for vote, please.
Gunn.
Aye.
Wagers,
Aye.
Lennon, Mullen,
Aye. Action items for the meeting, proposed approval to appoint Gary Watts as the interim chief financial officer and board treasurer.
I'll make a motion that we approve item number 28.
We have a motion and ask for a second. We have a motion and a second. Thank you. Thank you very much. So,
Did you get my email about signing new signature cards?
yes, yeah, but we can do that, okay? Yes. Motion to, and a second to approve Gary Watts as, I hate that it says interim though. I think that should just be, but anyway, interim for the end of the school year. Call for both places and then we'll do the oath of office.
Gunn.
Aye.
Wagers,
Aye.
Lennon, Mullen,
Aye. And so I'm gonna ask that, who is our board clerk?
That would be Mr. Noggle.
He's not here.
Not here tonight, so I think,
That's Beth. Been working.
Well,
Beth
yeah.
can administer the oath of office.
I can take it from her tomorrow.
She's the
Do it here?
yes.
Want to do it?
That's completely up to you.
We'll have a private swearing.
We can do that. We can do that. Again, thank you for stepping up. You're the sand eyes for the true working
To me, and I am so impressed with the staff. I just had only worked with Karen Pride, a little bit with Terry Kennedy, but you have an excellent staff. Good. Makes it easy.
in lots of our departments. We would say that. So thank you for recognizing that. That's cool. Item number 29. Proposed executive sessions to discuss any employment issues. Seeing no desire, we'll move to item number 30, the proposed employment of the personnel listed.
Make a motion to propose employment.
By Ms. Wagers, a second by Ms. Wagner. Mr. Turkey, let me just say that, what you and your staff do. I know staffing and keeping a staff full is tough at any time. It's doubly tough right now. And we are very blessed in Sand Springs that we don't have staffing issues
yeah,
because of you and your team putting stuff together, and we're kind of attractive district. And that's because of the staff that we got and the stuff that we do, and that is not taken lightly.
I think that we are, I am proud that we're able to do that. We've filled some pretty tough to fill positions mid-year, which is a little atypical. I will say, I think we all need to be very cognitive of promoting teacher retention, teacher programs. We had an email generated from somewhere about Oklahoma City University literally dissolving their teacher ed program because not enough people want to be in the pipeline. And so we, I think, as a unit, as a board, as a community, need to do a better job promoting the profession and do a better job promoting to the public the valor of doing just that in terms of respect and pay. By the way, I'm not afraid to say, I think the legislature needs to work on teacher pay too. But it's a little frightening to think about the diminishing number of people that are joining the ranks to be a teacher. So just a little commentary on my part, I guess.
So thank you.
That being said, Mr. Mullins, knocking on some wood right behind you.
You got it though, but thank you for, I mean, I know it's not easy. but when we have a need and we feel that need. So it's very much appreciated, recognized. We have a motion and a second to approve the employment, so I would call for vote, please.
Gunn.
Aye.
Wagers.
Aye.
Wagon.
Aye.
Palmer.
Aye. Item number 31, proposed approval of a policy revision to the field trip and excursions policies.
So this is what we discussed at the special meeting that we called to approve the trip for wrestlers. We changed the title to simply student travel and minimized the verbiage quite a bit. Thank you, Mr. Watts, who, of course, do you want to talk?
Well, just, I think it was my oversight if the first sentence said local travel by students. If you don't mind just inserting by students, that was my oversight.
Okay, yep. So Beth, can you make a note of that, adding by students, local travel by students away from the school building? The crux of all of it is the by protocol, the board has always approved out-of-state travel, which I believe is appropriate. So we want to continue that practice. I think the part that we discussed at the special meeting is giving me the opportunity to approve changes in itinerary based on special circumstances, which would have made made us not need to have a special session and would have been less tedious. And so we're asking for that change, as we talked about.
I was going to certainly, I mentioned to you that I'm comfortable with it because I know you well enough that you approve it, you're going to call or you're going to send us a note, tell us what you
Oh,
did.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm very comfortable with that. So I entertain a motion to approve this policy revision as amended tonight by Mr. Watts.
I'll make a motion to approve item 31.
We have a motion and a second. Any further questions or discussion? Call for vote, please, Beth.
Gunn.
Aye.
Wagers.
Aye.
Wagon. Aye. Mullen.
Aye. Item number 32, any matter which could not be anticipated in advance of the meeting?
No, sir.
Our school being closed, but are changing to virtual learning, so thank you for that. Any announcements?
The February 10th date for the ribbon cutting. I'd ask that you put that on your calendar. February 10th for ribbon cutting for the new enrollment center. So I think 10th, 3rd, 3rd, February 3rd.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
What time was that again?
4.
And thank you for the announcement about Ms. Moses. That's kind of special. It keeps things going. Keeps that.
I just need the principals not to panic because I'll be on maternity leave in August.
Any other announcements? Mr. Gunn, do you have a
Motion, we adjourn, please.
Have a motion to adjourn,
second.
second by Ms. Wagers. Call for a vote, please.
Gunn.
Aye.
Wagers.
Aye.
Wagon. Aye. Mullen.
Aye. Gary, I did not have, yes.
If I